Let it begin.
Indeed.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
It's Rob and your friendly neighborhood hobo back for another
Have you
pod.
become a hobo now?
I don't know. I took a shower today and I feel like I look like a hobo. But here to make up for last week's missed episode. So for today, our two topics are: we watched the Magnificent Seven film, the old one from the 1900s.
Yep.
And then we're going to talk about moral choice in video games. So, I believe this was the first time either of us had seen this movie, correct?
Correct.
And I don't know what do you have much of any of a background in watching Westerns?
Not really. Yeah, especially not the old ones. So yeah, not a lot.
Awesome. I've probably seen about 10. I'm going to say not, I guess the Ballad of Buster Scruggs is technically a Western.
But it's a little bit different from what we think of when you say Western.
Oh, of course, yeah. I believe I've seen all the Dollars trilogies, seen a couple John Wayne's, seen the old True Grit. Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven is really good, where he's like an old man. But yeah, I'm not at all someone who's like, I am an expert in cowboy shooty bang movies. But that being said, we didn't really watch this movie because we were looking for a Western so much as we were looking for a movie to compare to Kurosawa's Seven Samurai.
Yep. And this movie was written very much based on Seven Samurai.
Yeah, I believe even Akira Kurosawa worked on the screenplay for this movie. I believe that's what it says in the opening.
Okay.
But I will...
I don't know. I feel like I would have come upon that fact in some of my research, but...
Let me just...
I do know that Kurosawa liked the film.
Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
2060... Huh. I could have sworn it said something like that in the beginning, but I guess I am nuts.
I think it said based on the movie.
Yeah. That's probably what it was, and I took this. Oh, wait a minute. The script condition. Oh, no, I'm nuts. Yep, I'm a crazy person. Disregard anything I said. Robert is the...
Well, I'm sorry to destroy your facts.
No, that's totally fine. They're not facts if they're wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, no one would have known if I hadn't blown your cover.
No one. No one would have just Googled that and been like, this idiot's stupid. But, having 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess, since we've watched The Seven Samurai, I would say this movie holds up to comparison pretty well in terms of what it's doing, but in a new setting.
Yeah. I think, to me, it doesn't feel like it has the same impact, I guess. I think when we talked about Seven Samurai, I'd said that I kind of felt like Kikuchiyo is the heart and soul of that film.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie hybridizes Kikuchiyo with another character. And I feel like that really changes a lot.
Yes. I don't really feel like there is a single character that's kind of like the emotional anchor.
Yeah.
It's just a whole bunch of men trying to do man things in a world gone mad.
Yep.
So yeah, I completely agree. It doesn't have that same impact, but it also is an hour and 12 minutes shorter.
Yeah, which was nice. I think we talked about it a little bit off screen, and my recollection is we kind of agreed that objectively Seven Samurai is the better movie, but in terms of the experience of just watching the movie, I think that it's more fun to watch The Magnificent Seven.
I agree, and I have to say, to the movie's credit, I forget how charming older movies are, and I say that like it makes me feel so old, is seeing them do stuff and knowing they don't have the crutch of computers and like post editing and stuff. It's if someone falls over, they have to reshoot it.
Yeah.
And to make an explosion, they have to actually have something there to throw up dust and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
Yeah, some of those scenes had to be pretty rough to shoot.
Yeah.
Especially since it was later revealed that all of the cast had diarrhea at least one point during shooting.
I could see that. I could see. I'm pretty sure everyone in this time period had diarrhea.
Probably true.
Just subtly all the time. They were always on the verge of diarrhea.
Yep.
But
I sympathize.
You're always on the verge of diarrhea as well?
Yeah. Always on the verge of some sort of intestinal distress.
Did you get a haircut?
No.
Oh, your hair just looks a little shorter, so this was.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, you know this. I've been sick.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think today was my first day going back to work since I've been sick, and my boss commented that I looked like I'd lost an entire size. So I wonder if just like I've lost weight from being sick and look different, maybe. But I don't know.
I mean, yeah, if you had like you were super dehydrated like that, I've had that a couple times, and yeah, you lose like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And just water weight. But I have to say, I was surprised how not in your face violent this movie was. Until like the very end, like.
Yeah.
The first person.
The violence is not like. It doesn't permeate the whole film. There's just like spots of violence.
Like, I think the first person you see get shot at isn't even like. Oh wait, never mind. I'm crazy. I forgot that that one. Was it Hector, the guy who gets killed in the village at the beginning?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Sorry, R.I.P. Hector. I was thinking of what they do in Magnificent Seven, which is the parallel to what the lead samurai does when he's introduced in the first movie, where he does the little trick to get in to get where they do that in this Magnificent Seven, where instead of tricking to get into where a thief is, it's two white dudes going, "Hey, American Indians should be buried with all the white people." I felt that was a little weird. Like, they were trying to get out of the way, like, we're not racist, almost right out of the gate.
Yeah. I guess I feel like, so I'll say this movie's from 1960, and I think there's an argument to be made for that being very progressive for the time.
Yes.
Like we can look at it today and it's very easy to say, like, these are two white guys trying to show how much they care about a Native American person by making sure that he gets buried with everyone else. And, like, I think there's a certain validity to that reading, even where you're saying, like, these are characters who we're supposed to be seeing as confronting the racism of the world that they live in. But at the same time, that's not a theme that really gets followed up on much in the movie, if at all.
No, I didn't see it as like this is a progressive thing. I saw it way more cynically as this is the thing they do at the beginning of the movie to make up for the fact that they had to fight. There were a bunch of white dudes killing a bunch of evil Mexicans throughout the rest of the movie. Like, they're like, you can't call it racist. Remember that part at the beginning where that other minority they helped that was already dead? And they did that? I was just like, oh.
I don't know. I'm not an expert on, like, movies from this era, but I feel like that's not a consideration they even would have made. Like, I think they could have happily had that movie without, like, any justification for these characters not being racist. But
I don't know. It felt really, like, heavy-handed that, like, oh, and all of the good people aren't racist either.
Yeah,
like, I'd like really
sure.
All 7 of them were not racist in this town of 14 people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That just felt a little weird. But I liked that scene where like they're taking the buggy up to the burial area. I think it's called a cemetery in technical speak, and it does a good. It works perfectly as a scene to set up two characters at once, where it has the dude and then the guy riding shotgun, which is where the term riding shotgun comes from.
Oh, interesting.
Is you always have someone ride next to you when you're on the carriage, and they are the ones who normally have a shotgun to shoot highwaymen and stuff. So when you call shotgun, that's why it's called that.
Oh, from that. Okay, I thought you meant like specifically this movie was where that came from.
No, from like,
the reality that this movie was pulling some details from.
Yes. But I don't know. I do think it's funny. We didn't watch it, and I don't ever really want to see all of it. But I did look a little bit at the new Magnificent Seven, and the cast of the Seven is radically ethnically diverse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, so just like they have Mexicans, they have black people, they have Indians, they have Chris Pratt. He's his own race at this point.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I don't know. Is this cat like? Again, I'm not an expert on movies from this era, but like, I'm recalling at least two of the members of this cast being at least partially Mexican. Is that correct? Chico and Bernardo.
I don't know if. Let me look at what Bronson.
Chico, I think, is.
Chico's definitely like.
Yeah.
I think it is. From what I was looking at, so I think he's supposed to be 3/4 Hispanic to 1 part white, and that's why he's like a gunslinger in America. I don't know if Charles Bronson is.
Oh, like, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. But I guess, like, again, just like wondering, is this maybe a thing that's kind of like progressive for the time to have characters who are heroes who aren't just white guys? I know, because that's like one of the things when I look at, I have to go and do my Star Trek reference. Like when I look at the original series, that's something that it does that was like really progressive at the time, is to have like a racially diverse cast. You know, and like it's important for us to like shoot for even like shoot higher in the future, like, but at the same time I feel like it's worth it to at least recognize some attempt on the part of this movie to try and be more diverse.
I don't think Bernardo is supposed to be, because he's just Bernard, and then they call him Bernardo because that's what you say in Spanish. Charles Bronson is Lithuanian, which is from Europe. So, but maybe. But I guess the reason I was going way back to the point of not violence is that my brain was thinking that the first person you see get shot is someone you don't even see get shot, was the dude who yells at them from the window, and then Steve McQueen just shoots at him with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Because after that, you don't see anyone die for a really long time.
Yeah.
Like, I think the next... yeah, they have the shootout when they show up with when the... What is the evil guy's name?
I was just looking at it earlier. Is it Calvera?
Calvera. Yes. When Calvera's gang shows up, they have some shootout there, and then after that, there's the deal with the snipers, but you don't ever see the snipers. It's just like, yep, we killed him, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't really like how the deaths of the heroes were spaced out. They all just sort of seemed to come one right after the other at the very end.
Yeah, it's sort of a confusing mix. I read at one point, though, that I think like part of the reason why that fight is so confusing is that apparently the script didn't actually specify what order they died in or anything. So they were kind of just like figuring it out as they went. But yeah, I agree. Like, it feels like there are characters who maybe don't get like the deaths that they deserve, or even just that all of the deaths kind of feel like they're happening in a big old pile.
Yeah, like the only one that like felt fine to me was the death of the like cowardy guy who comes back. Well, he doesn't come back. He's there the whole time. The coward guy who stays to fight.
Yeah.
Where he saves them, like the hostages, and then he has that moment of, yeah, I did it, and then he gets shot in the back. So that kind of fit as like, that would have been in like a modern day movie, the part where as he gets shot, he looks down, and then the camera cuts to show the protagonist also seeing that happen, and then that's the death that triggers the protagonist to go into the insane murder frenzy of seeing the redemption cut short. But yeah, after that, everyone else just sort of goes, haha, dead. Like,
Barnardo gets a little bit of a death, doesn't he?
oh yeah, he does.
Shot, and then the like kids are kind of talking with him as he's dying.
Mm-hmm. I was really disappointed because I really liked his, I'm trying to think, not substitute, his corresponding character from Seven Samurai, the dude who's like the expert gunman, but he's like the knife thrower.
Yeah.
His death really bummed me out. He kind of just gets tagged from off screen, and then as he's dying, he pulls out his knife, and I'm like, oh, is he gonna get someone with like a death throw? He just throws it into a fucking wall. And I was like, oh.
For effort.
That was lame. But, yeah. It's kind of a bummer. I will say I really appreciate, because that's one of the things I complained about from Seven Samurai, is they made a villain for this movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They made a villain, and he, like... There are even parts of him, like, he's always clearly villainous, but at the same time you can kind of understand, like, some of why he's doing what he's doing. Especially after Chico sneaks into their camp and hears him saying, like, we literally have to go back because we're just going to run out of food if we don't. It feels like it gives more justification to why they go back again.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, in Seven Samurai, it just seems like monumental stupidity that they go back one more time.
Yeah, like, I never hated Calvera.
Yeah.
Which I guess is both a good and a bad thing. He felt like a person who was just doing stuff. He was being evil, but he wasn't, like, being a... Like, he could have been so much more of a dick if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, he catches all the dudes, and he's like, hey, man, I just need to... I'm gonna let you guys go if you want. I just need to show that I'm in charge, and I'll even give you... He even gives them their guns back!
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what? Like, when he said that, I'm like, haha, he's gonna... When they go to get their guns, they're gonna be full of, like, shit or something. But no, he just gives them their guns back.
It all seemed like a really weird choice to me at first. But one thing that I read is... And I don't know if the movie spelled this out, or if I missed it, or if this was just something that maybe audiences at the time would have understood, but apparently part of the reason he lets them go and gives their guns back is because he's worried about the idea of American law enforcement getting in on it.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty explicitly thing when he talks about robbing the bank. Because he's like, when other people rob the bank, they just get the marshal, but when I rob the bank, they sent the army. Right. Only Texans can rob banks.
You're right.
But I guess I didn't even think about that at the time. I was just thinking he was just being like an honorable cowboy person. Like, hey, I beat you, but you got to leave now. So like in a way, he honored himself to death.
There's definitely that element to it also.
And it made me think about it. I've seen the reverse happen so many times in movies and in everything else, where the good guy wins that duel and he's like, I'm gonna let you go, bad guy, because we have honor. And then the bad guy comes back to stab him in the back, and then whatever. I can't think of a time where the bad guy's like, hey, I beat you, I'm gonna let you go and all your stuff, and then the good guys go, nope, double backsies murder time. And I was like, oh, damn. That was funny. But not like in a hilarious way, but like, oh man, even the good guys are dicks. But to be fair, they wore black hats, so...
They did.
I also thought it was funny talking, because having a villain is... Oh, it's Fabulous Owl Riot, hello. I would say is very much like a hallmark of American cinema, where we try to have like a specific focal point of hatred for the audience, whereas like a lot of European and Asian films, the villain is just society, a situation, or just entropy. I would argue is like there's normally not like evil Greg. It's the bandits or the army or something. But
Yeah.
another very standard American cinema thing is love interest stuff. And
Yeah.
at the end of the movie, where Chico like right in the face of Seven Samurai, which it fit in Seven Samurai, is Chico does end up with the girl at the end. Although it also
Yeah.
felt kind of weird, where it's like the Mexican guy stays to be with the Mexicans, and I was like, huh. Is this like a weird subtext thing, or the only like I don't know. I'm reading into it too much because
Yeah, I kind of feel like you might be. I feel like at the very least the intention of it being written that way was just that he was like the young character who had a love interest, and the filmmakers wanted to, like have him give into that idea of love.
the thing that bothered me the most is he really didn't have any change as a character when you think about it. He started, as far as like true life narrative arc, as he started as a farmer and then ends as a farmer.
Yeah.
It's because they had to slam him together to make the Kikuchio character.
Yeah.
Is that if he wasn't a farmer and he was like a pure outlaw his whole life and then he ends as a farmer, I think that would have been more impactful.
I guess you could say though that there is at least somewhat of an arc in that, like, he starts as a farmer but clearly doesn't like that life, and then by the end of the movie chooses to become a farmer, I guess because he fell in love, but presumably something about that life his mind has changed on now.
As that's true, it could be like a prodigal son sort of thing. I just, when it was happening, it was just the mix of race and occupation. I was just like, oh, this doesn't land as well as it could in my brain today after watching thousands of movies that I am comparing it to, which isn't fair at all. But that was some other stuff. I think everyone did a really good job, I think, is acting. Is that during Seven Samurai, there's definitely some acting that felt weird, but I think that might just be from my perspective as a Western audience person. But going back and watching it now, all of the acting held up really well. There wasn't like John Wayne movies to me feel weird because he's like, hey partner,
it's like clearly a character in a way that these don't feel as much like characters.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, it was good. Like, it felt once again sort of like a modern movie. But I'm sure if I went back and watched it right now, I'd be like, oh, except for these 800 tiny things that I noticed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen a number of old westerns that feel like hokey and like American Dreams and the stalwart cowboys always right. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
What?
Okay, thank you, Fabulous Owl Riot.
What's going on?
Oh, he sent me a gift on Steam.
Ah.
And it just freaked out the recording thing. I'm on the rat murder bus now. Alright, let's get this out of here. Sorry, all three of us. Oh my god, I have to get off the screen.
Well, for what it's worth, it's not showing up on the stream, at least on my end.
Oh, okay. For some reason I thought it would, because it just popped up like right in the window, and I was just like, no. But thank you, Fabulous. Will, we all know it's you. What are you drinking?
It's a mix of Gatorade, ginger ale, and water.
That's going to give you diarrhea. Okay. That's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, well, it's just like, I don't know, the salt in the Gatorade is kind of still like helping me absorb fluids, I guess, but
I guess.
at least that's the theory.
I just would never think to mix those. I know my tummy hurts, I like drinking both of those, but just mixing them and then diluting them with water sounds terrible.
It's pretty good, actually.
What flavor of Gatorade?
It's the, like, lemon lime Gatorade.
God damn it.
Why?
It's the like worst flavor of Gatorade.
It's not my favorite, but it goes well with the ginger ale.
Actually, I take it back. I'm sure grape is the worst flavor of Gatorade. Because grape
What's your favorite Gatorade flavor?
The white one, because it matches my skin. I'm just kidding. But the white, it's like white cherry, I think. Or frost.
I think I've had that one.
I love it.
Pretty good.
And then there's some blue ones that are good. Then there was like, it was they had it in our when we went to high school together. They sold it in like the cafeteria. It was like X Gatorade. They don't make that line of Gatorade anymore, but it was like flavor cross flavor. They had some really good ones.
I see.
But it was mostly because it had 38 grams of sugar. I've gotten really into drinking kombucha in the last couple weeks. Help my gut health.
Yeah.
And because I get to say kombucha. But anyway, related to kombucha, what were some other things you liked about this Wild West film? I guess, yeah. Is there anything you didn't like that you were like, this is stupid?
Nothing that stands out to me. I was gonna ask if you had a favorite cowboy.
I think I do. I think it's the main guy.
Yeah.
It's either him or Bernardo. I really liked. I hate his name, Chris. Just cause, I don't know, because it's Chris the cowboy.
Yeah.
That bothered. Because like the first guy's like, "What's your name?"
I was really hoping that he would be older than he looked.
Sorry, fabulous. Are those the channel logos in the cup? Yes, that is for every follow or subscription. I can't remember. I had to change from the Plinko machine to the cup because the Plinko machine on that background just didn't look like anything.
Ah.
But yeah, that's all of the things we've gotten this month so far. But this cup will actually fill up to the brim and then explode if we get enough stuff.
Ooh, that's fun.
I'm trying to remember what the actor's name is for Chris.
Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner, yeah. I really I've seen him and stuff, and he's normally like a scary guy when I remember. And he was scary in this movie, like in some ways when he just is like monotone. He's like, "I'll kill you," and you're just like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Steve McQueen, his character Vin was pretty all right, but he's also just kind of a nothing character because I don't really think any of the characters by themselves were particularly good, to be honest.
Well, I feel like when you have 7 characters, it's hard to have time to flesh them all out.
That is, definitely a problem. I think Bernardo had like anchoring with the kids.
Yeah.
Which I was really bummed because like once they established the Kikuchio character equivalent in this movie, I was hoping there was going to be a Yohei character equivalent for him to hang out with. And then I think the Yohei is the 3 kids, and they gave the 3 kids to Bernardo. If I had to like try to do an equivalent sort of situation. So Bernardo was good. The coward guy was interesting, but he was also just kind of weird.
He was my favorite.
He felt like one of the fleshed out characters, but I don't know. I wanted to know more about him, but it was a problem with the movie not having an extra hour and 12 minutes.
I sympathize deeply with being constantly terrified.
Yep. But the knife throwing guy was kind of a disappointment. He didn't do enough to establish himself as being really cool. And then his death really bummed me out. The one guy who was in it for money was just in it for money.
Yeah.
His death scene also bummed me out. Where they had to lie.
Yeah, he was still just like, tell me there's some money in this.
But I did at least like the line that Chris has when he dies, though. That was I was like, there's it. I try to pick out a couple lines from a movie to really hold on to, and it was just well, I'll be damned, and he's like, maybe you won't be, and I was like, oh, hey, because he redeemed himself by coming back, so he won't be damned. Also, speaking of lines, I didn't think the "because we're farmers" speech was nearly as good in this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I was waiting for it, and then when it started, I was just like, this feels weird.
I didn't feel like any of the specific scenes where it was very obviously recreating a scene from Seven Samurai were quite as good, but
yes, I agree. I was like, were there any?
Well, so I guess they replaced the one at the start with I guess I would say I like the scene with the main samurai cutting off his hair better than I liked the scene of them driving to the cemetery the scene in which Chico slash Kikuchio sounds the alarm bell to bring all the...
That one also was annoying. Like Kikuchio, like Chico just seemed like a huge asshole.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I wrote that down and I underlined it and then I put an angry face next to it.
Yeah. I feel like in both movies, the scene in which they realize that the love interest is actually a girl is weird, but...
I think that one actually worked better in Seven Samurai, in Magnificent Seven.
Yeah,
those two
it could
meeting.
be.
But yeah, anytime it was trying to be Seven Samurai, it kind of fell short. But when it was just kind of being a goofy Western, I liked it.
Yeah.
I was also sad there wasn't an old lady revenge murder moment.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it. How bummed were you that Yul Brynner didn't keep a tally of all the people that they had killed with circles and X's?
I mean, I don't know that I would say I was bummed. If you probably remember, that was something I liked in Seven Samurai, but
Yep. But
the fight scenes in this one go by so fast.
guns are faster at killing people from a distance than swords are. So
That's true.
This movie I also noticed, and one of the things of the charmingness is also kind of like the hiccups and goofs. It's I forget what the term is. I don't think it's called anchoring, but of the process of making it look like someone's getting like knocked off a horse or a moving vehicle, where they just pull them off the thing using a rope. It was very obvious, and it didn't make sense a number of times when someone would get shot, and then you could like see the wire for a period of time when the person gets yanked back off their horse. And I noticed that like 2 or 3 times in the movie, where just you could see the one point where the wire is hooked onto their back, and that's where their body bends as they're getting shot in the back, but they still go whoo and fly backwards.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, 60s.
But I mean, like you were saying earlier, they had to do all of this with practical effects and no post-editing.
Exactly. So.
And yeah, like I'm sure even with the practical effects, like those were not nearly at the level that practical effects would eventually get to in terms of sophistication. So
Nope. But overall, I liked it. It kind of made me want to watch other westerns, to be honest. I kind of want to watch the Dollars trilogy again, because I think it's really funny is the guy who plays Calvera is the Ugly in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
I've heard that The Searchers is a pretty interesting movie too.
That one is good. I've seen that one. But once again, I'm not a huge fan of... Wow, I've said his name like twice so far today.
John Wayne?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of John Wayne. Mainly because I had a really good friend in high school and then in college who loved John Wayne, and they had all of his movies, so I had seen a bunch of them with him.
Huh.
And then I just kind of learned that John Wayne was kind of a shit.
Yeah.
Which I never really researched, so I could just be holding on to fake hatred. But I've heard that he was kind of racist, and I was like, oh. And then I'm sure... Actually, I don't know if I'm sure. Have you heard about his famous post-death story thing? Is that it was said that he's very famous for eating steak. Is that it was like his kitchen staff would be like, yeah, he had some form of a steak every day. And red meat doesn't like digest and break down in the human body as well as it should. And when he was dead and they did the autopsy, they said they found something like 40 to 50 pounds of fecal matter backed up inside of him.
That's pretty gross.
And I'm just like, ugh. But anyway, that's the cowboy poop story of the week.
Yeah.
But I do... If you're looking for non-traditional Western movies that are older, I recommend... Older being like post-2000. I do recommend Unforgiven. That one's good. Where it's Clint Eastwood being an older person and having to coming back into the life of being a cowboy.
Yeah.
But doing it with no flash compared to because it's really weird because I've seen him in spaghetti westerns where there's a lot of quick draws and quick shooting. It's like, no, I'm an old man and there's a bunch of people in town that I need to kill. So he kills them as a smart old man who knows how to use a gun would kill people. I think Ghost Rider is, if I remember that correctly, I think that was supposed to be good. And then Tombstone. Did you ever watch that in college? Because like they showed that, they showed clips from it like at every sporting event. That was like the intro for
I don't know if I ever went to a sporting event in college.
I worked there basically every football season, so that's how I saw most of them.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they would show a bunch of clips from Tombstone.
Yeah.
I'll be your Huckleberry. And that one's really good, which, from what I understand, that was supposed to be, at the time, like a modern take on the Magnificent Seven.
Huh.
But it's only like 4 or 5 dudes. And they get way more character development. And the fight.
I feel like that is a good change.
But, yeah, right. What are some other really good westerns? 3:10 to Yuma. That's the modern one I thought was pretty good. And then, have you seen Hateful Eight yet? That is another really good non-traditional Western movie, where the whole movie doesn't even feel like a Western movie. It takes place entirely in one building. And then the other Tarantino one, Django, which most people, I think, know about. Have you seen
I haven't seen it, but I know about it.
That movie is also excellent. Like, Quentin Tarantino's a weird old white dude, but he knows how to make movies. And me very uncomfortable. Though, Quentin, if you ever see this podcast on YouTube and you're like, I want to be on their thing, hey.
Yeah.
You can sit right next to me. By. Or you can probably be more comfortable.
Show you our feet.
He is. Yep.
Yep.
Actually, I think he'd probably have more fun sitting next to you with all of your anime figurines. He'd probably be like, oh man, look at this. Turns out he has the whole collection of Sonico figurines.
I don't have that many Sonicos. I only have 2 Sonicos.
I guess I meant to say Hatsune Miku's, because I see. Do you have like 3 Hatsune Miku plushies behind you and up on that second shelf?
4 big ones and then like 2 small ones, and then a lot of these little tiny ones are Miku's.
Did you see the new?
And then there's like the shelf right above this one is Miku figures. So.
Damn.
Yeah, got a lot of Mikus. They make a lot of Mikus.
There's so much Miku to love.
Yeah. There's also a lot of Mikus on Toriba, so I will often go for Mikus.
Nice. Score those Mikus.
Yeah.
When are we going to do the Toriba stream?
Toriba.
Anytime. Well, how would it even look? Because your ping is terrible to me.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe anytime after I get better internet.
True. Anyway, did we have anything else we want to talk about in regards to this movie? We kind of got off track.
Had a couple facts that I picked out that I thought were kind of interesting.
Lay them on me.
So, one thing that I learned was that Yul Brynner, who played Chris, and Steve McQueen, who was Vin, apparently didn't get along at all during shooting.
No! As soon as you started mentioning their names, I'm like, they hated each other. Oh.
Yeah, they were constantly trying to one-up one another. Like McQueen would do things like while Brynner was talking, he'd be like moving his hat or something. Brynner was obsessed with appearing taller than him on camera, so he would build little like dirt mounds to stand on in the scenes that they were shooting together, and then McQueen would like kick them while he was walking by. They argued about like McQueen's gun being too fancy, so it would pull attention away from Brynner, and McQueen thought that Brenner's horse was too big.
I hate and I love behind scenes drama.
Yeah. But apparently that kind of like one-upsmanship started to like spread through the crew, so John Sturges, the director, was actually like worried that it would get out of hand and he'd just lose control.
Oh.
Oh man. So another
sorry, I was gonna say it's not as bad as Wesley Snipes in Blade Trinity, where he refused to open his eyes for an entire scene, so they had to just CGI terrible eyes over him.
Oh man.
But anyway, sorry. Oh, your screen just flashed green.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know why that happened, but
Spookums.
um, so another thing that I found pretty interesting, and it actually explains some things that seemed like kind of weird about the movie,
Mm-hmm.
is that so they shot on location in Mexico, and apparently there was a movie that had come out in 1954 called Veracruz. And I didn't look too much into this, but I guess the Mexican government had not been very happy about that movie. And in order to get them to agree to let them shoot in Mexico, they had to agree to let Mexican censors approve what they were doing.
Mm.
And so, like, one thing that I remember thinking was kind of odd is that all of the villagers who are supposed to be like farmers and people of the earth are in like shockingly clean clothing. And apparently
Oh.
that was something that the censors had insisted on. And like it was actually something that really delayed shooting because they got to set and had all of these costumes which had deliberately been made dirty, and then they like had to take them and get all of them clean so that they looked spotless. um
I didn't even think about that.
yeah, but another change that they made is that in the original script, so if you remember in this one, when the villagers first go into town, they're going to buy guns.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the Seven Samurai, where they're going to hire samurai. In the original version of the script, they were sent to town to hire mercenaries, but the Mexican government felt like that would make them look weak, so they had to rewrite it. Um, which deprives the movie of what was like one of my favorite lines in Seven Samurai, where he tells them to hire a hungry samurai. Um,
Yeah.
but
Seven Samurai had so many good like lines in it.
yeah,
I was also really bummed there wasn't an equivalent of uh, Chico like hiding behind a door and then like shooting at people as they were coming in to test their cowboyness.
yeah, that would have been fun. I
Chico's
had,
whole deal for joining them felt weird.
hmm,
Like with the clap game and then him showing up drunk.
yeah,
That was weird. But anyway, sorry, you were saying you have more trivia.
I had one last little fact, although this one admittedly is mostly for me, uh,
Uh, does it
which
involve
is
Star
that
Trek?
it doesn't involve Star Trek, it involves Stephen King.
Okay.
Which is that they this movie was the like big influence on the fifth book in the Dark Tower series, Wolves of the Kala, was the Magnificent Seven.
Hmm.
And I have read that book, and once I read that fact, I was like, oh yeah, that definitely is what he was looking at. But
Nice. How, are we gonna watch the Dark Tower movie?
oh god, it's such a piece of shit. I hate that movie so
But he kills with his heart.
passionately. Ugh, I hate it so much.
How can you hate Idris Elba?
I really love Idris Elba, and I was actually excited about that like casting decision. I feel like he's the one thing about that movie that could have been really cool. Um, even though it like potentially messes up something that comes in some of the later books. Um, because like I mean, do you want me to get into
I'd
this? I'm
sure
happy
go
to.
for it, man. No
Okay.
one's watching.
So so um in the part of what's happening in the Dark Tower series is that he draws gunslingers from other worlds. The main character Roland does. And one of the gunslingers that he draws is a crippled woman named Susanna, who is a black black woman from like the civil rights era, who has multiple personality disorder. And one of her personalities is like vehemently hates all white people. And so like a big thing that the characters are dealing with in the book is that like the other gunslingers are white people, and they're having to like reconcile, we have this person who has multiple personalities and one of them like vehemently hates us. um and like those tensions I think are really interesting, and was like a thing that was worth exploring. But if you have Roland is black, then like suddenly that tension is all gone. But I feel like they could have written other interesting things in place of that. And I really do like Idris Elba a lot. Like Luther was a super fun show. And I was excited to see him in that movie when I first heard they'd casted him. But
you heard it, Idris. We'll have you on this podcast too, right next to Quentin.
I would love to have Idris Elba on this podcast.
He also has a thing for feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what movie it is, but he made it so that when he had to have sex scenes with like his female character, she had to always be wearing socks in the movie. Otherwise, he'd be too aroused to film. That's a real thing.
Yeah. Well, maybe that should be the rule of this podcast. Us will only invite movie people on who have a thing for feet. That's such a dumb joke.
It's not a joke. We're gonna find him.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna push us into the forefront of podcasting.
Yeah.
All right, so we've made it through the end of facts.
Yes, done all my facts. I hate to do this, but do you mind if I go to the bathroom before we start the next section?
That's fine. No one's here. I'll just look at the camera and talk about stuff.
Perfect. I'll be right back.
Not related to podcasts. Tomorrow is going to be the first showing of our Fallout 4 stream, the Fallout 4 Critical Diary, where I'm going to get way in to how I feel about Fallout 4, what I think was good, what I think was bad. Try to be as objective as I can be. A game I really enjoy, but I know that has flaws. And just take a break from Kingdoms of Amalama Ding Dong, because it's kind of getting a little old. Sorry, Winter Water Warmth. I know I'm going to break your heart. But that's that. I don't know. Evan got back and he really wants to watch Shazam. So maybe we'll watch Shazam. Maybe Robert would want to watch Shazam. Internet, remind me to ask Robert when he gets back if he wants to watch Shazam as the next movie. It could be the first DC live-action film that's good. That isn't Wonder Woman. I thought Wonder Woman was fine, but it just wasn't anything in particularly interesting. So, made curry for dinner. It turned out pretty good. Will needs to learn how to use Twitter. And
all right.
That's why I stabbed him repeatedly, and I don't even feel bad about it. Oh, hey, Robert.
Hey.
So, I think we're going to move into part 2, the video game aspect of this podcast. The thing that I have slightly more notes on.
Well, I'm glad, because I had a hard time with this one, so that'll be good.
But talking about the idea of moral choices, moral dichotomies in video games, some examples, and how we feel about them, I will say up front, moral choices in video games are something that I have come to hate. Not having to make choices, but just how they're done.
Yeah.
So I'll ask before we get too far. Like, what do you think about just, I don't know, moral choices in video games? What your background is with those?
So I guess I would say, like, I feel like part of why this was hard for me is because I had a hard time thinking of moral choices in video games that actually felt like that interesting to me. I feel like I would really like to play games that asked me, like, interesting and challenging moral questions. And it forced me to, like, deal with the ramifications of those decisions. But I feel like I just haven't played many games that actually do.
I feel exactly the same way. I don't think... There's one in my head that stuck out, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I cannot think of ones that are interesting. It's always... Do you want to help all the orphans, or do you want to push all of the orphans into a dustbin? Sort of thing. And there are some games that are just built completely around good, bad choices to the point that it like fucks up the story. Like for me, that's the Infamous games. I don't know if you've ever played them.
I haven't, no.
But in those games, you play as a dude who gets superpowers. He's like an average Joe, and then a big bomb goes off, and then suddenly he has the powers of Zeus. And there's just so many moments in the game where the game like literally stops, turns into a comic book, and then it goes, do I get all of the food for my friends, and in doing so electrocute 50 people to death, or do I let these people have the food and then me and my friends have to go look in dumpsters for another day, sort of thing. And then you hit L1 or R1, and then Cole either goes, all right, and then leaves, or murders 50 people for no reason.
Yeah, and then presumably your powers turn different colors depending on which decision you make.
Stop spoiling it. Yes. And it's even on top of that, it's the more evil you go, the better powers you get in the evil tree, and then same thing for good tree. So there's no reason to make moral choices, because then you just start handicapping yourself, whether you're going pure good, unless you're going pure good or pure evil. And then the biggest problem for me comes is that because writing is hard and games are expensive, they can't make a game that fully complements all the choices you make, so they just make it so that in all of the major story beats, either your choices didn't matter, or it's assumed that either one could have happened. So normally just everyone just treats Cole like an asshole anyway.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in a plenty of games where it's like I'm doing all the good choices, but since the game can't keep track of all those things in the main story, because they wrote the main story way before they wrote all of these sub-situations where choices were made, it doesn't matter, and Cole ends up being a no character.
Yeah.
But
well, it is also a thing where just like the more branching decisions you have in a game, the like more horrific the task of writing everything in a compelling way becomes. Which, like, I mean, at the same time as acknowledging that, I guess I would say I'd almost rather you just don't give me a choice at all and tell me one compelling story than tell me a mediocre story that has the illusion of having some choices in it.
That is exactly it. And I think the game that has done that the best in most recent years is Red Dead Redemption 2. Which is an amazing game, but I don't have to tell you that. It has 107 on Metacritic and everything. It's as good as advertised. The writing's really good. Is that you're playing as Morgan, and you're already an outlaw, so you're not like a super good person, so you're not going to be doing crazy levels of charity. You're not going to build a church. And you're given all these small opportunities to be more honorable or dishonorable. So it's not good or evil even.
Yeah.
And the game does change slightly in noticeable ways the more like good things you do versus bad. But like the game never really stops and goes, do you eat the porridge or do you throw it onto the baby?
Yeah.
And it manifests itself in like little ways, like when you start walking through your camp after being really nice and helping everyone, people will be like, hey Morgan, how you doing? And instead of throwing alcohol at you or something. But I'm trying to think. Mass Effect was another big one that was really built on the idea of choice. Although they didn't call it good and bad either. They called it Renegade and Paragon, I think. Have you played those?
I played part of the first one, but I never finished it. The disc that I bought kept crashing because I bought it used and it was scratched. And I just stopped.
Because to me, the most like standout choice in the first one is like throughout the, maybe it's either the first one or the third one, I cannot remember, is because I think it's the first one, but it involves a character who shows up in all the games. It's this reporter lady, and she seems to be like kind of trying to write a smear article about you, if I remember correctly. And then at the end you get your two options. I don't even think it says what they are. They just say, are you going to choose to be a renegade or a paragon? And the paragon being like the good boy one. And the Paragon answer was like, hey lady, you're mean and you're making news stupid. bye, I'm Captain Shepard, and then you just like walk away. And then if you pick Renegade, he just runs up and just punches her in the face and just knocks her out, and then just like, later fuckers, and then just walks off. And I was like, all right. But no, the thing I wanted to talk about is from The Witcher 3, so there's going to have some spoilers. I hope that, does that bother you at all?
No.
Okay, because I'm sure the only other person here has already played this, so it doesn't matter. Is there's a choice you get in the game which has some small effects in it, but like it's a morally heavy feeling choice. And it's also a very weird, specifically fantasy situation where there's these three witches who are worshipped and feared by this village because they bring like luck and harvest. But it's also very clear they demand sacrifices. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to deal with these witches. But then you learn that like the witches are there to keep in check this weird spirit that's in a tree that is evil. And basically, as you're playing the game, you get to the point with Geralt where you're confronting this tree spirit that is evil. And when I say it's evil specifically at the town that is mad for worshipping the people that have imprisoned it. Is you have the option of letting this spirit out that basically wants revenge on this village, or killing the spirit. And in one sense, it's like, oh, yes, letting it go destroy the village is fine because they're powering these also equally evil witches. But then the other thing is, oh, if I kill them, then this village won't die. And that was sort of the starting layer of being interesting. And then you make your choice, and the choice for me that made the most sense was kill the spirit, because like everyone can change and it's fine. But as you're fighting, you have multiple chances to stop fighting it. The spirit starts telling you, like, yeah, if you kill me, those witches are going to eat all these kids that have been given to them, that you actually meet, and you've met and played games with these kids. But then it's also listed that, like, yeah, if these witches die from the spirit, the witches won't be able to save the woman who is the wife of a very powerful person who's keeping the whole area in check. So all of these layers start being put on top of each other during this sword fight with the spirit. And then I ended up killing the spirit, and then the kids disappear, so it's assumed they get eaten. But then the witches manage to fix this wife, and then when they fix this wife, it takes this character who I can't, in the time of this podcast, accurately relay how much of character growth and change happens in this one specifically amazingly written character. Gets to have a very satisfying conclusion to his arc of being like a drunken, abusive oaf into being someone who cares about what's going on. So all of this was just stacking up in a time where it wasn't hit L1 or R1, it was stop killing this thing, or nope, fully commit to killing this thing. And like, as I was doing it, I had to like constantly like pause and go, what am I, oh, do I want to keep going? Like, and I just had to like sit, and I was like, okay, I have to kill this thing. And then I did, and I didn't feel good when it was over, because it's a choice that is designed, it's a Sophie's choice. Which, like, there's not a good option to it.
Yeah.
But I had to think about it. And I was like...
Well, those I feel like are the interesting decisions. Are the ones where there's not a, like, definitively better choice.
Because in Infamous also has the moral choice I hate the most of any video game, because it's a lie, is near the end of the game, the villain has kind of built up his army, and Cole is like, I'm going to have to deal with him. And he kidnaps your girlfriend, who has been like a well-developed character through the whole game, so you become attached to her. And I liked her, so I was like, okay, I want to save her. And basically the choice you get to is on two buildings, there's a bomb on each one, and at the top of one building is your girlfriend, who is a doctor, and at the top of the other one is 5 doctors. And your option is you have to pick one to save. So it's, do you save your girlfriend, or do you save these doctors who, because they're all like high-level specialists, will be able to save lives going forward? And naturally, the first time I played the game, I was trying to go full good, and I saved the doctors, and I was like, okay. And then as you're saving the doctors, it plays a cutscene of like your girlfriend being like, I understood why you do that, I'm really proud of you, and then she gets like blown up and falls off the building, and you cry. And then I played the game again, and I wasn't going evil, but I was trying to like pick choices that made sense to see what the story would be. We got to that point, I'm like, you know what? Fuck those other guys. I'm gonna save my girlfriend. I get up to save my girlfriend, and the thing is, everyone has hoods on during the thing. Is I get up there to the one person who's supposed to be my girlfriend, I take the hood off, and it's a random dude, and the bad guy's like, haha, she's over there with the other 5 doctors, and then blows her up.
So basically, she dies no matter what you do, because the game fucks with what the reality is.
Yep. And I was like, what the fuck? That's not a choice at all.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
That, I stopped playing at that point for like a week. And then I picked it up again and finished it and was like, yeah, neat. Do you have any examples of any moral choices that you either really liked or have really hated?
I don't know that there were any that I really liked or really hated. I wrote down a couple that I remembered.
Okay, that's fine too.
One was just the little sisters from BioShock, which I think we talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, it could have been a more interesting one. Another one was what was the 2 factions in Skyrim?
The Stormcloaks and the Imperials.
Yeah, which, like, I don't know. I think if it was written better, it could have been an interesting moral dilemma, but
yeah, and that one I can appreciate because it wasn't like you get one option like right at the beginning. It's like you have played a lot of the game and you've kind of gotten to work with both factions.
Yeah,
those sort of choices I think are fine, but yeah. But ones where it's just like, haha, 1 or 2 right now, and you're just like, I think of another one that I really, really hated. And if anyone in chat is listening, post yours, and we'll talk about those.
While we were talking, I remembered one that I haven't actually. Well, I've played some of the game, but not all of it, and not the specific quest that this choice is in.
Mm-hmm.
But I had watched a video by a channel called Extra Credits, if you've ever heard of them before.
Yes.
Yeah. So they did a video. I think it might have been on moral choices that I'd watched a long time ago, and they talked about a quest in Yakuza 0.
Okay.
Which I think actually had kind of an interesting moral dilemma.
Okay.
The quest. Have you seen this video before? Do you remember where this is going?
No, that's what I'm trying to think, because I played the shit out of Yakuza 0.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think, I can't remember any moral choices in that game.
So, it's like a weird little, it's like such a, it might not have registered for you because I think it's,
Is this the band?
Such a, like, almost unimportant, seeming decision on the surface.
Okay.
But so I guess in the quest, you meet this kid, and he like
is it the porn magazines?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so like you meet the kid, and he wants you to buy the magazine, but you promise you'll help him buy it, and then you realize it's a porn magazine, but also you realize like he doesn't even understand completely what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the decision that you have to make is like, am I going to buy this magazine for this kid, or am I going to break a promise to this kid and make him distrust adults? Which I think is kind of an interesting
but if you
moral dilemma.
I guess I can't remember if Zero does the good and bad endings of side quests. I'm pretty sure it does because it plays certain music. Is that I think that doesn't even count as a moral choice, because if you do the other thing where you don't trust adults, it does the bad ending. So like the game doesn't even want you to do that. Because I know like if you fuck up on certain quests, like it won't put the check mark next to it.
Yeah.
In your log, because it's like you didn't get the good ending. That was a big thing in Yakuza 3 and 4.
Like the game making an evaluation, though. That doesn't necessarily mean that the choice isn't potentially interesting.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't even think about that one. I was just like, okay, because Kiryu even was like, but I made a promise, and then like you talk to him and it plays the music of like, hey, kid, and I was like, all right. So when they were like, yeah, Yakuza 0, I'm like, I can't think of any time I had to make choices in this game. The only choice is what part of equipment am I going to hit this person with? Always bikes. I love Yakuza so much. I want to get Judgment so bad. Another one that I thought about, all the idiots in Mass Effect 3 who won't help you against the Reapers unless you do dumb quests for them. Oh, Mass Effect 3. The ending of Mass Effect 3, this isn't the one I was thinking of, but now I just remembered, is another famously stupid choice at the end, which I think Zero Punctuation calls is Ending Tron 3000, where when you just get to the end of the game and you just get to make an arbitrary choice, and that changes the game completely, like the ending. So, I know the Fable 1 or 2 was really bad about that. Yeah. Deus Ex Human Revolution was really bad about that. And then, Mass Effect, just 3 games, hundreds of hours of gameplay, just like, what am I picking? Everyone's a robot now. Cool. But, no. From Fable 3, the Zero Punctuation thing I thought about is the moral choice of how that game is set. Have you seen the Fable 3 Zero Punctuation?
The what?
The Fable 3 Zero Punctuation?
I'm sure I have. I've seen all of them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's probably been a little while.
They talk about that, like, halfway through the game, your character kind of achieves the goal of the start of the game where you depose your evil brother and then you become king. And then the evil brother's like, yeah, there's, like, a horrible cosmic monstrosity that's coming to kill the city, like, the world in a year. Deal with it. And then at that point, when you're playing as like the king, you have to make all of these choices that are either good or evil based on how the game sees it, to either like raise money to, because you need to make a shitload of money for some reason, and that is what will keep people from dying when this monster shows up, or picking other options that are good but like you don't get any money, so that means that more people are going to die, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the example he uses, there's a part where you have the option to drain a lake to mine all the ore out of it, which will gain you a lot of wealth, or you leave it and then you don't disturb nature and everyone gets to look at the lake and it looks pretty. And he just talks about how stupid that is, that they're in that situation. It wouldn't make sense not to be like, hey, a giant monster's coming, we need to prepare, which means some shit's going to be really shitty for the next year so that not everyone is dead. Fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that is stupid. Fable is stupid.
Yep.
But no, like, I think I just prefer it when a game just writes its own story and has like a direction and arc for a character. And there can be like little side choices for things, like Witcher 3 is a great game, and that has a few pretty big choices in it, but it all sort of flows together and keeps going. There's not like one choice that like fucks up the whole game.
Yeah.
or like when we're playing Fallout right now, is there's a bunch of choices that Will has made that at the end of the game, when it's doing the credits, is going to show the fates of certain things. But it hasn't felt intrusive or dumb yet to me, what you've done in that game. But no, just when games just have to like hold you by the scruff of your neck and be like, pick something.
Yeah.
It just really gets in the way of making a cohesive narrative, I think. So did you have any other ones?
The only other one that I wrote down was a game that didn't actually make me make a choice, but that I thought that had what I, when I had played it, was hoping was the setup for an interesting choice, or at least like could have been the setup for an interesting choice. Which was one of my favorite games, Final Fantasy X. If you remember, the plot of that is that you're helping Yuna on her quest to go to, like, I can't remember what it's called, but to go to the MacGuffin and do the MacGuffin dance. And you learn in the process of taking her there that when she does the MacGuffin dance, she'll die. And, like, that's one thing that I think the game could have done that would have been more interesting, is to, like, actually follow through on that. Of course, like, what it actually does is go, no, we're going to break the whole system apart. Because they don't want to make you feel sad at the end or have to make difficult choices. But I felt like that could have been a really interesting choice, is like, if you go through the whole journey with Yuna and then ultimately have to decide, like, are we going to seal sin again at the cost of her life, or risk letting it decimate the world because it's not acceptable to just like trade one life for another.
Oh man, then you should play the game I Am Setsuna, which is literally that. And then you'd be disappointed the other way. You're taking her to be sacrificed to save the demon thing, and then at the end it's like, do you want to sacrifice her or not sacrifice her? And then regardless of what you pick, she goes, nope, I have to sacrifice myself, and then she dies. Spoilers for a game that's not good. There was another one that popped into my head. Oh, one sort of moral choice that, like, I'm not mad at, but it's weirdly done, is in the new Wolfenstein, not the newest one, but I think it's just called The New Order, which is really good. Like, if you want to play a really good first-person shooter, is at the very beginning of the game, during the prologue, is you have to choose between which of your two companions is going to die. And the way they make you pick is very stressful and well done and unnerving. So, like, that's good. And then when you pick, one of them dies and one of them doesn't, and then that other one who's not dead is in the story as, like, its own different character. And then it also changes the mini game you have to play to unlock doors. So, like, you have to play the game twice, and it's weird to me. That's a weird choice. So I think, like, one is you play, like, the Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout 4 lockpicking minigame, and then the other one is, like, the Oblivion lockpicking minigame that is directly tied to someone's life energy. But, alright. Seems like this one didn't have a lot of ammo in it.
Well, I feel like that's on video games for not having enough interesting moral choices for us to talk about.
That's true. I guess it was more.
I, like, on this one, ended up, like, looking through list after list of the most interesting choices in video games and just rejecting all of them as, like, this is so fucking stupid. What is shit?
I definitely did that as well, where I was like, what are some other ones? And it's like, oh. Like, instead of moral choices to deal with, like, character development, like, one that's not really a moral choice, but still, like, there's the dichotomy of good versus evil, which I really hate, is the first Dishonored game. where to get the good ending, you have to minimize killing people. But the first game like gives you so many opportunities and incentivizes by giving you like power-ups that are specifically designed for killing people.
Yeah.
But if you kill too many people, you get the bad ending. So yeah, I don't really like good ending, bad endings. I say that, but I love the fucking good ending to Red Dead Redemption 2 so much. I can't wait for that game to come out in PC so I can just. I don't want to say. I'm not going to steal it. I'm going to buy it and then just. I was going to make a joke about being a cowboy, but then someone would take it out of thing and be like, CJ's going to pirate it. I'll play that game again on stream because, fuck, I love Rockstar games. I'm such a loser. But, yeah, like, I hate those sort of things. But instead of having these good versus evil things, just have, like, really harrowing things happen and then have characters develop out of them. But I know that's not really anything. That's just good storytelling, I guess.
Well, that and, like, do make actually interesting choices that aren't just, like, here's the good choice and here's the bad choice. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want to set up some trolley problems that I have to deal with, I want to do that. I just feel like a lot of games, it's not the trolley problem, it's be bad or good.
It's, do you want the trolley to run over 5 people or no people? And you want the other reason you pick the other one is for your unquenchable thirst for blood. I've heard the game.
Well, it would be like, do you want it to run over 5 people and we'll give you $3, or no people but you don't get $3?
Yeah. I think a good example. Not a good example. I was gonna say. Of rather than having, because one game that does like a good job of tricking you with choice, and that's sort of the point, is Spec Ops: The Line. That has moments where like it seems like you get to pick, and then the game like fucks with you. One of them being, spoilers for this one, is you're heavily outgunned during this one point, and then your character, with no input from you, makes the choice. I'm going to use this thing called a white phosphorus cannon, I think, which is basically like it's an aerial pop bomb thing that just burns people alive. And what seems like the choice is happening is either hit big groups of people, because you don't see them as people, you see them as blips on a radar, and they're kind of like, hey, there's some not people, like non-combatives, and then there's combatives, is hit the big groups, so that way when all of your bombs run out, there'll be less people to have to shoot later. But if you hit the big groups, there's a chance you might hit some of the
civilians.
Yeah, but then at the end, the thing that you realize that's the horror of it is all of them were civilians. And what was happening, the reason they were there is there's like about 10 soldiers, but it was a military encampment where everyone else had already like died, so they had just brought people in as refugee camp, and you'd blown up a refugee camp. And then the main character and his crew then have to live with that for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And that is the thing, is like, it wasn't a choice, it was just a thing you did, and then at the end there's the reveal, and then it's, I don't know, it was something that stuck with me after I was done, and I was like, this is way better than it would have been like, do we use the white phosphorus and kill a bunch of civilians, or do we go nope and just try to shoot them all with our guns? And I was like, oh,
yeah,
this was a much better option.
Yeah, there's like similar moral choices that I think would be really interesting in a game too. That one made me think of a episode of Star Trek.
Oh God.
In which one of the characters is working with another character who's a resistance fighter. And the person who's a resistance fighter is like trying to free his people from a group called the Dominion. And originally he wants to only strike bases that only have Dominion soldiers. but she tells him like, no, you have to be willing to strike bases that also have Cardassian soldiers in them, because if you don't, then the Dominion will just start putting Cardassian soldiers in every base. Which, like, I don't know, that's a really, really tough decision to have to make as a person. But like, seems like it's an interesting one that would be like in a similar vein.
That is a really good one. I thought I had one more that I was like, this one was stupid. I don't know. I just wish more games would just focus on a single unified narrative rather than, but what if we do two?
Yeah. Or alternatively, like, lower the scope of the game and then have like branching choices, because that's like how you deal with how ridiculous things get when you have branching choices, but have like actual branching choices because you've lowered the scope in order to do that.
That works pretty well. There are some, like, when you were looking up biggest choices, did you see the one for Bioshock Infinite where you had to pick one of the two pendants?
Maybe. I'm sure I've come across this choice before.
It's just near the beginning of the game when you're leaving.
It's like a cage or a free bird.
A free
right?
bird, and then you pick one. And then it has nothing to do with the rest of the game. And it's just to fuck with you. That got me. Like, I was just waiting the whole time for it to be like, oh, and you picked this one? Ha ha! But then it's just like, no. It's because not all choices matter, because there are infinite universes. What you've already picked has already been done somewhere else. I'm like, oh, okay. You got me, Ken Levine, or whatever your name is.
Well, I didn't play the game, so he didn't get me, but...
Oh, he will.
I guess now he never will.
Oh, he'll get you.
You already told me the secret.
He's gonna find you. He'll get you in another game.
All right.
Well, I feel like this stream of piss has got its last few drips running down our legs. So, what do we want to do for next week?
I don't know. I had some movie ideas. If you want to hear movie ideas.
Yep. I had one or two movie ideas as well. I'd like to hear yours. Go right for it.
For sure. So one that I was thinking about is either the original Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead. I think they're both interesting movies. I'd still like to talk about Ghost in the Shell. Another one that I wrote down is the original Carrie. I think is actually a really great movie if you haven't seen it.
I have.
You have? Okay.
I've actually seen all the movies you've brought up except for Ghost of the Shell.
So one that I haven't seen that I feel like is a blip on my pop culture radar is The Godfather.
That is like a 3.5 hour long movie, Robert.
Okay, well, never mind.
It's good, but that is also a big ass movie.
We'll save it for another time.
Okay. Yeah. What else? You got another one?
I had a couple others. I'm just gonna shotgun them all off.
Here we go.
So we could follow up Blade Runner with 2049.
Okay.
I know we were waiting to do another Hitchcock, but I'd still be excited to do Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, this is going to be I feel like a weird pitch, and you'll just be like, oh, Robert, you weirdo.
All right, here we go.
But I actually think that we could have an interesting conversation about No Game, No Life, Zero.
Oh, I was like, what? Oh, as I was thinking, okay. All right. Those are all...
I just figured I'd pitch that. Yeah, I'd like to hear the movies you were thinking of, too.
All right. The first ones were ones we had talked about just because we sat down and looked at all those John Carpenter movies.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Big Trouble in Little China, for more of a pop culture one. That's one that I actually have not seen all the way through. This next one is, I will completely admit, it is more just I kind of want to see it, and it's pop culture, and Evan really wants to see it, and he keeps bringing it up all the time. So I'm like, man, I can knock out 3 birds with 1 stone. Is Shazam?
A new one?
Yes, no, the old Shazam movie, Robert.
Is it like gonna be available anywhere for us to watch? I thought it was pretty new.
Yeah, it's we can watch it on a, like they have it on like Google Play and stuff.
Okay.
There's also Detective Pikachu, Robert. I know how much you love Pokemon.
I mean, I would watch that. I feel like I'll just end up shitting on it.
I would totally not mind watching a movie that we both just shit on the entire time.
It could be pretty fun.
Because I'll say for the most part, I feel like I'm trying to treat all of these movie parts of the podcast as like work. Like I have to do serious critical analysis. But no, if we're just like, oh my god, that movie was terrible.
Gonna take a fat steamy dump on something.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta do that. Clear out your guts.
Okay, yeah, either of those could be fun.
You want to watch Detective Pikachu?
Let's see. Let me make sure that I'll be able to rent it somewhere.
It is on a bunch of, looking on our Roku, there's a bunch of places. It's like $4.99.
Okay.
It's definitely on Google Play.
Okay, Amazon Prime Video's got it, so
Awesome.
not for free, but I can rent it there, so that'll work.
So, all right, Detective Pikachu. That's a movie and a video game thing.
Indeed it is.
Did you have anything you want to talk about in regards to video games?
No, I didn't have any topics that I thought of.
Or the other thing I was thinking of is kind of do the game jam thingy again that we did,
Yeah.
but narrow it
Fun.
and try to pick a genre of type of game rather than I have this very open. It's gonna be like, no, do you want to make a roguelike, Robert?
Okay, so like we try and think up roguelike ideas.
Well, like, yeah, like a roguelike idea and different mechanics that would work, like how it would work and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that could be fun.
We build a roguelike. All right, there we go. We did it. We figured out what we're going to do, and hopefully we'll have more content than, yeah, that thing's stupid. I hate how they do it all the time. And us both being like, I also hate that thing.
Yeah, well, because this time it will be our own ideas.
It'll be our
just
own
love them.
ideas, and I can be like, I hate that idea, Robert. But anyway, thanks to everyone who had joined us. We had like 6 people at one point, and they left really fast.
I know. That's fair.
Tomorrow is going to be a double Fallout day.
Ooh.
I start my Fallout 4 Critical Diary for the morning stream, where I'll be playing it, but playing a whole new thing I've never done before, but also looking very intently into how the game is designed and what I think works and doesn't work, and also bringing up some stuff I've looked up. And just kind of exploring what it is from a gameplay design perspective rather than, I like to shoot bangs. And then in the evening will be another healthy dose of Two Dumb Idiots Play Fallout New Vegas.
Nice.
But it looks like Zero Gravity Theater is going right now, so I think we're gonna take a nice steamy dump into his channel.
Sounds like a good plan.
And then he'll be like, hey, you dumb idiots, thanks for joining us. And we'll be like, anytime. Please play with us. And if one day we're going to talk him into doing a co-stream, and it'll be great. But anyway, we'll get that started. And thank you, Robert, for having the facts and doing the research as always.
Yeah, I try.
You are the backbone of this segment.
I read very carefully through the trivia page on IMDb.
Hey, you gotta do something.
Yeah.
Until next time.
But I pick the best facts from the trivia page.
You do. You separate
There's
the
a lot-
wheat from that chaff.
There's a lot of boring ass facts that I don't stick on you. So
Did you know this movie was shot on a camera?
yeah, there's always like a billion facts about like so and so was originally pegged for this part, but then they put in so and so instead.
Oh
And
man,
I'm always like,
we just need to start going to our shitty movie facts. But anyway, we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.